Welcome to ForceProSports Laserforce Podcast with your host, Mr. Mischief.
Welcome, everybody, to ForceProSports Laserforce Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Mischief, incredibly amateur laser tag sports analyst, and today I'm joined by Skillz, a Laser Blast player from Ann Arbor, Michigan. He's been playing since about 2010. He's part of a 25-year scene that ended, and he is coming to internationals this year. We've been having conversations about Nats and Space Marines 5, and I just wanted to bring him on to talk about it in front of everyone because he's very curious, has a lot of really good stuff to say and ask. So welcome on, Skillz.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. You were just telling me a little about the Laser Blast scene that you came from. Can you kind of like just give us the overhead version, like what is that and kind of what your laser tag experience has been?
So the Laser Blast scene specifically is just a different type of hardware that plays a format that's also elimination based.
Oh, cool.
It's usually around 20-minute games, and we play in teams of 5.
Very similar.
Yeah. We also we don't have rolls, but as far as compared to other laser tag systems, we do have one of the slowest firing rates. So you can only shoot once every 2 seconds. So it becomes a very important team and accuracy system.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. I came around 2010 for that scene and was active pretty much until the end of its demise for the competitive scene in Michigan. And around that time, we started to reach out and got into the Armageddon scene. That was how I found my way to Force.
That is awesome. And how long you been playing in Armageddon?
So I played 4 Armageddons, 2014, 2015. Then I got busy with work and didn't play any tag up until about 2 years ago.
Okay, cool. And now you're back.
And now I'm back very heavily.
Cool. Like, what are you doing actively right now?
So right when I started coming back, I started to jump back into the Armageddon scene. So that allows me to travel to a lot of different states and compete in a lot of different laser tag scenes. South of me in Fort Wayne, Indiana, there's a big zone scene.
No way. I was born there.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So that's one of the 3 largest zone scenes in the U.S. right now.
Now all of you can hack my passwords. What's your birth city? Anyway.
And then the Pittsburgh area, there's a really large Laserstorm scene, which I've been playing monthly this year. And then me and Stu, Disco Stu, you guys should know him well.
He's a baller.
He lives 15 minutes away from me, and I've known him since he used to be the manager at the laser tag store that I first started playing at for Blast.
Cool.
And so me, him, and pretty much anyone we can grab. We've been trying to drive out to Syracuse, which has been the only store that I've played at in the last 10 years.
Very, very, very cool. Well, it's been a lot of fun even just to like message back and forth with you. We're a community of people that I think we're like the most obsessive laser tag players in the world. You got your Friday night, go hang out with your buddies and beat up on the Gen Pub. Cool.
Yeah.
No, these are the people that just get obsessed and we talk about it till 3 a.m, So I can tell you have that energy in you.
It has been very fun because compared to other laser tag systems, like there's a lot of tactics and physical skill, but the amount of knowledge that exists outside the arena that can be gained is much greater than any other system that I've played.
Awesome. Well, we're going to dive in. We're just going to geek out, and you had a lot of questions that you sent me. We're going to just shoot it.
Sure.
Before that, I'm going to show all you something that Skillz made. And before that, I don't know if I've officially named this update about our channel, but right up there, I have a little note. It says, all donations go to helping players attend events. So this channel has been fully funded by one player, Lucidune, for the past year. Thank you for all your donations, Lucidune. She has been given some rewards that she can redeem at times of her choosing. And I got her permission for this. I'm changing the mission. I'm making it a little more local, small community. Anybody who's willing to make donations to this channel, all donations will go towards helping Loveland players attend away tournaments. And I will not be using the funds for me. I'll be giving them to, teenagers that can't afford to travel very easily, stuff like that. Giving that out judiciously, trying to just create a little bit of a travel fund for us. So hopefully that's a mission that people can resonate with a little more and we can make a bigger impact, because going to these events is life-changing for people and sometimes finances get in the way. So please check out our Patreon. The link should be below. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to pull up your map here. 1 second.
Sure.
So explain to people what you've been making.
So I went to the most recent shindig out in Syracuse.
Can you see that?
And I wanted, yes.
Cool.
And I wanted to put some effort into getting a map, not only just for Nats coming up, but just to share with new players that travel, because it's really helped to get familiar with it, because there's a lot of terminology that's thrown out throughout games, and they're all seem like they have no base unless you can actually look at the map and see why some things are called what they're called.
And this is you've never been to Loveland, but I don't think you have. But Loveland is 3 stories. No. So I look at this map and my initial thought is there are too many areas. But if you took Loveland and broke up the 3 floors, we probably have this many callouts. This is just all one big floor. And
yeah,
pretty good to know where all these areas are, I think.
It's also a really big arena. I think
huge,
people undersell. Like for Armageddon, we actually split it in half and run 2 separate games at the same time.
What?
Because there's enough space to do so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because we import some of the actual hardware, so we can actually set it up on one half of the arena.
Amazing. Well, anyway, so you're working on this map. I guess you mentioned like might be good for people to give feedback on it. Like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this, or anything you want to share with the people?
I think the one thing that teams will most benefit from having the map that I've made is being able to look at it and get a realistic understanding of where the sight lines are. Because there are a few spots that someone might mention, like, oh, you should keep an eye out from like E50 to Cuckoo's Nest. And without an actual like to scale map, some of those sight lines, you're not going to be able to understand like how valuable they are.
Yeah, no, for sure. You said that you had measured out the walls like exactly, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got everything within like a 6-inch variance, because none of the walls, like you can measure from the outside in, but once you start measuring in, every wall set after that's measured off the wall before it. So, it's easy to get things in the middle kind of messed up. So I tried to reference from all each walls and then to go through it over multiple times.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I think the whole community ought to thank you for that. Yeah.
Sure.
Love it. I'm excited. I recently made the announcement that I'm going to Nats and I'm getting to play with a really fun team with some really fun strats, and we're gonna take this map and we're just gonna devour it. I'm gonna memorize the whole thing. Nice. It'll be really helpful.
How many teams are coming from Loveland?
2.
2? Cool.
Yeah.
I found my way onto I think at this point 100% Armageddon team. I think we're still floating around a 7th for just people who pop up and still need teams.
Yeah, tell me about your team. What's the situation with you guys?
So right now we've got Redneck Tech,
Love
which
that
I'm
guy.
pretty sure has been to many tournaments in your guys' scene, even though he's definitely an Armageddon player. We've got 2 original Quest players. I think their code names are escaping me at the moment, but they're both Quest turned Storm turned Force players who play in the Syracuse area. So they're going to be joining us. It's a father and son duo. And then I believe his code name is Sneaky. He's a UK Armageddon player who's going to be coming across.
I'm so excited to meet Sneaky.
As am I. He seems like he's very active in his own scene, so it should be a lot of fun to see him come mesh with you guys.
Yeah. I it's funny. I'll call Sneaky out. My only interactions with Sneaky have been through like the Discord, and they compared themselves to being like the Rusty of EU Laserball. And boy, am I
Okay,
excited! And I'm gonna play in the Laserball event against Sneaky,
nice,
so this is gonna be fun. Sneaky, very
awesome.
excited to meet you, and glad you're coming out. Thank you for making the journey. Because it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of expenses to travel across the ocean. So we
Absolutely,
gotta we
yeah.
gotta we gotta show Sneaky and anyone coming from any other country a good time.
Yeah, for sure. Which I guarantee they will have. This is the Force scene is definitely one of the most friendly ones that I've spent time with. So
For sure. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. So glad to hear that. I think
yeah,
many of us who have
it,
been
it,
trying to make it that way are
it
glad
can
to
be
hear
touch and
it.
go with a few groups, but Force definitely has not been one of the ones I've had any issues with. So that's been
Some
great.
groups we have needed to show the door over the years, and that's a good thing. To, sometimes you say no to one person to say yes or to protect something else. That's okay.
Yes.
Um, okay, so the topic for today, the Space Marines 5 basic meta. So this is an idea I've had for a little bit, and I kind of brought it up to you. Um, there is a basic strategy, like a fundamental building block of SM5 that kind of exists across arenas that I want to share with you. So I have a little story. 2016, so this would be 10 years ago at Syracuse Internationals, same situation. Um, Loveland sent a team, and this would be our second away tournament. So we played at home in our own internationals. We went out to a West Coast, and then we came back. So this was our third event, second away tournament, and that's like a whole year of being dunked in heavy laser tag. So we thought we were getting better. We thought we were getting good. But coming into this event, we were consistently out of like 8 teams, we were losing to basically everybody. We were easily the seventh or eighth ranked team. Um, and we began to get desperate. We began to switch up our roles a lot. We began to try advanced strategies. We were trying to like it was really frustrating trying to punch up against these teams that were just completely outclassing us. So we felt, okay, well, since we're losing anyway, let's try some advanced stuff. Let's mix it up. And towards the end of the event, some of the more experienced players pull us into the briefing room because we're just like, we're losing it. We're getting really frustrated and we're not winning, even though we're trying advanced stuff. And they say, you guys are not good enough to be trying out these tactics.
Mm,
You need to stick to the basics. Essentially, you need to stick to the basics until you're good enough to implement the basics and choose intentionally when to break the basics, when to use advanced stuff that is an exception to the rule. And it was frustrating, but like we listened. Basically, instead of trying to win games, we began to try to just survive longer and longer and draw games more and more into like an even match instead of just going for wins against these big teams. We switched our roles to whatever was most appropriate, doing some stuff we hadn't tried. For me, that was the first time I stepped onto heavy. I did not want to play heavy. I did not want the responsibility pants, but I was genuinely the best person for the job. And winning was way more fun than playing the role I wanted. So turns out, once we just stuck to the basics, our team got a lot better. And we ended up upsetting Syracuse B in finals, and we had a closest match against the other Syracuse team.
nice.
So anyway, that's kind of my little story about like why this is important. I want to put this video in the SM5 101 playlist and just give the basics. This is like where you should begin, and my story is basically telling you you should begin here and eventually move beyond it if you want to be a high placing team, but this is where you should start.
I would definitely agree. So I've been around for laser tag for a while. So even though I started back in 2014, 2015, realistically, I've only gotten uh, maybe like four to five different events that were competitive, just in general, because I don't have a site in Michigan,
Mm,
as Detroit hasn't been active since 2015, 2016, probably.
mm,
And as far as like member nights go.
right.
So that's kind of why I had reached out to you in the first place, was because I was curious if there was any sort of record of different metas based on like scale of skill, to just kind of figure out where I'm at and what kind of things that I could grasp at my current skill level.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's no, I don't know. I think you'll still be able to do a lot of advanced stuff throughout the tournament, but it especially is relevant when you have a whole team of people, especially a whole team of people that are maybe a little newer, which
Yeah.
it sounds like that's the situation you guys are walking into.
Yeah.
I might also recommend, if you go back to the last internationals from Brisbane, I also did a bunch of Zap reports, which are like every day I would just give my thoughts on the teams. And I do throw out a
Cool.
bunch of little nuggets based on like what each team's situation is. I make a lot of comments about Team Olympus, which was I think an all zone team that came in, never played Laserforce.
Oh wow.
They stuck it out for the whole week, and they sucked on day one, but by finals they actually almost upset the 5th place team. They almost killed out 2 of their
Awesome.
players early. It was insane. So
It's
like,
really interesting.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
you go.
No, go ahead.
It's really interesting how when multi-system laser tag players come in to play a new system, what parts of the skill sets that they've already gained are transferable. And
Right.
I think for Force, the one thing that is most transferable is teamwork. So
That makes a lot of
if you're
sense.
already, yeah. So zone is definitely a system in which that you have to work together to achieve just about anything. There's maybe, I don't know, 7 people in the world who can actually run off and do what they want, and they're just wrecking balls, which I'm sure Force has their own. But for the most part, it's definitely a team uh, goal.
Yeah, super team oriented. It's not so like, I imagine since you have like, I mean, yeah, a bunch of you have the tag experience, you may just not have the Space Marines experience. So hopefully
Yes.
this kind of supplements a lot of that and gets you going. Once you get the basics down, you can begin to adapt a little more.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't we dive in?
Sure.
Without further ado, all right, not gonna lie, I just had some fun with silly little AI doodles. I know some people aren't a fan of like AI slop. I tried not to make it look like slop, but sometimes it doesn't look very good. Just gonna be honest. Just want
Fair.
I work a job, okay? I couldn't hand draw you a bunch of stuff for this. I have a life. All right, here we go. The meta. So let me pull up my little notes here. Okay, the introduction. So the intended audience for the meta, and after every slide, I'll give you a chance to ask questions. The intended audience for this presentation is new site teams, a B or C team of newer players, or like a mercenary combined team, kind of like maybe an Armageddon team. And I talked about my story. Like, if you are at that level of play, like if you are newer to the scene, one time, speaking of Thunder, he had another analogy one time. Like, you start out developing a base understanding of the game. It's like a cube. Then you develop a 2-dimensional understanding of the game, and that becomes like a row of cubes, right? You get a little more complex. Then you begin to develop like a 3-dimensional, so you have like 100 cubes, right? Then you get like a 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, like it builds up. Like the game builds on layers on layers on layers. So this is just that first like block / row of blocks. That's all this is supposed to be. We are prioritizing just the basics, not advanced. So if you're listening to anything that I'm saying and you're like, I disagree, that's not how you should do it, I at least want you to think, is this a good principle versus a specific move? So if we look at a game like chess, knight to e5 may be a great move or a terrible move, depending on what the game looks like. I can't tell you knight to e5 is a great move. I can give you principles, though, to help you make decisions that are specific about the game. For example, take over the middle of the board, activate your pieces, protect your king, control the map, Those things will help you win chess. I can't tell you the specific moves, so a lot of what we're talking about today is basic principles rather than specific moves to help you make your decisions. And lastly, they are my opinions. I selfishly was like, I want to talk about this. You could ask any other person. I bet a bunch of experienced players would add or modify things that I'm saying here today. So don't take this as gospel. It's just me, one player who has an opinion. Do you have any thoughts or questions about that?
I think the concept of building blocks is really important because there are a lot of things that until they become muscle memory in a way when it comes to decision making in the arena, if you don't have like a good foundation, you tend to fumble over too many different things, trying to do more than you're capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm just going to start by overviewing the win conditions for how do you win SM5. So the technical way to win is you eliminate the other team or you outscore them if it's not an elimination, right? That's the win condition. But the 5 things I'm mentioning here are how you get there. And so I think it's more important to focus on this right in front of you. For example, if you're hiking up a mountain, it's not helpful to think, I need to reach the top of the mountain. It's more helpful to think, I need to step here and then here and then here. And, the thing that's right in front of you. These are the 5 things that are right in front of you that you should focus on. Efficient, safe resupply, drop your nukes, successful attacks, control the arena, maintain your lives and shots. I've color-coded them so that when they pop up later in the video, you'll recognize them. Any thoughts or questions on that?
No, seems like a good broad spectrum of things.
Absolutely. Okay, the overhead view. So I've broken up the 5 classes, or the 6 players, into 2 categories, the offense and the defense, to keep it simple. Obviously, in advanced play, that doesn't always look so black and white. But we got the commander and the 2 scouts are the offense. The heavy, the ammo and the medic, / we call them the resupply, are the defense. The team base is wherever your resupply or really your medic is. And when you're just looking at a map, the map is going to look something like this. The very back end of the map should have your medic and your team base. It should be like the farthest thing from the enemy team base. And then as you go out, the ammo's in front of the medic, the heavy's in front of the ammo, the scouts are in the middle of the field, and the commander is the most forward position. In a general sense, like this is the layout you should be going for.
Yeah.
Any thoughts or questions on this?
No, it's fun to kind of me trying to go as advanced as I've been attempting in most recent times. It's fun to reel myself in and think about like where did I start. So.
And you played Armageddon, so you've played like the 8 versus 8 SM5, right?
Yes, which is a lot of people. So.
I'd be so curious like how much of this ends up like being like how it's played in Armageddon versus how people may interpret the game differently in Armageddon.
I think the thing that hurts Armageddon the most is that the games are so short that you don't really get the same sort of concern for resupply and getting elimed. Teams that are I think they're only 8-minute games.
What? Why?
It's because we've got 60 people who need to get through one center in a single evening, so that we can move on to a different center that sometimes 2 in one day. So
all right, fair enough. I recommend you guys change the format to Space War, do 2 team versus 2 team and let it be 15 minutes, and like it's still not SM5, but like you're playing half a game at that point. It takes so much from it.
Luckily you still get to experience the different roles, and because of like unless there's a force team, which this year is actually stupendously ridiculous because St. George force scenes coming out with almost an end. I don't know if they're currently in it. I think they're all but 2 of them from their Nats team are actually coming out and playing in Armageddon this year.
Oh, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, it's actually the week right before Force Nats.
Cool. Yeah, that's right. If you want to play in Armageddon, I don't know if signups are even still a thing, but
yeah, I think at this point there's maybe 1 or 2 spots for teams that have lost players for not random concerns, but it's getting close.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the defense: medic, ammo, and heavy. The medic. Okay, fundamentals of the medic. Your job is to stay hidden. Why? Because you have 20 lives and you can't ever get them back once they're lost. And the game should be 15 minutes long. It can be pretty difficult to make that last. So for medic, obviously, when you tag, I'm assuming, by the way, if you're at this podcast, you already know the rules of the game. If not, you can go find under SM5 101 on my channel just the briefing video. Go look up the basic rules. So the medic obviously gives lives to your team. If you die, your team's gonna die. So you're very much like the king in chess. You want to stay protected. If there's a checkmate, you lose, right? You kind of think of it that way in this basic meta idea. Your goal is to provide efficient resupplies. That is one of your win conditions, right? And know your fallback spots. If your team gets flushed, meaning the enemy team attacks you and you're forced to leave your base, where are you going next? You need to have that planned out because your team needs to relocate somewhere. Those are the fundamentals of playing medic in the meta. That's what the medic does. Any thoughts or questions on that?
Yeah, staying hidden is interesting because even though your job is to keep all your sensors behind the wall, you also need to still find a way of listening to what's going on around you. So you're hidden in the sense of like you're just not visible, but you're still active.
Yeah, absolutely. I made a note here that typically resupply is kind of considered the most boring role by far. It's only, I would argue, it's only boring at this level. At the base level, right? These are the bare essentials. You really do have your resupply just kind of hiding in a corner.
Yeah. But you're also the biggest target during the game.
You're too important. You can't go running out there.
But like for that reason, people are looking for you. So like it's only boring until it's immediately not boring, and people are like actively trying to kill you because you're the most important piece.
Right. Then it's just stressful.
Yeah.
Please go if you're gonna play medic. I recommend you listen to our 10 tips on medic video. Man, I'm advertising myself a ton today, but there are so many things you can and should be doing as medic that is more than this, but this is the basic. You don't fundamentally you don't want to show your targets to anybody. You don't want to be in the action. So it's very important, and yeah, it does get more intense when you're under attack. When you're winning, you're a lot more chilling out, you know?
Yeah, I will definitely support you on that. Your 201 videos were extremely helpful to me.
Oh, good. Glad you liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ammo carrier. Basic level. Stay with the medic. Don't leave their side. Why? Because your job is to provide efficient resupplies. And the doubling mechanic, because you deactivate your player for 8 seconds whenever you resupply them, if you can tag your team at the same time, that is so much more efficient. Efficiency is huge. You don't want to like have your team deactivated all game because they got lives, then they got shots, and they got lives, and they got shots. It's really important that the medic and ammo, if they're standing together, they can sync up and they can go 1, 2, shoot, and then they can get your teammate and save time. And knowing the fallback spots is also essential. I recognize ammo and medic are different roles, but on a basic level, at this level of play, oftentimes the ammo plays exactly the same as the medic. They just are two players that stand next to each other and stay together all game.
Yeah, I would agree.
One little element of the ammo is like, unlike the medic, you can get your lives back. So it's important for the ammo to be just like keeping their lives up. You don't want to be playing low. When there's no action, get some lives, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and they can afford to take a little bit more risk to try to protect the medic in that way because they can get them back.
Absolutely. When you're choosing who should play what role, it's interesting because sometimes if I have two players with kind of a skill gap and they're going to play resupply together, sometimes it's best for the better player, quote unquote, to go on medic because you can kind of use your buddy as a meat shield. You know, if they take damage, whatever, I'll just give you more lives. Yeah. And sometimes it's more beneficial to put the more experienced player on ammo because the other player can just kind of hide more, and the more experienced player can be out trying to put points on the field. So it just depends. I think there's advantages to both.
Yeah, I think in a learning situation, I definitely agree that a more experienced player on medic is more beneficial because they can, because they're kind of usually tucked away in one corner of the arena. It's easier to take the time to actually like have the experienced player like tell them like, oh hey, like this should be a good thing to do right now, or watch this lane, like this person might be coming, but it's harder to do in the reverse role.
Mm.
Just not being able to sacrifice those lives to learn.
Yeah, 100%. A note for just both the resupply. I think just the word availability is a key concept. Your availability is the most important element of basic level resupply play. So like, you aren't the players that win the game for the team, but you can lose the game for your team if you can't enable your teammates to win the game by giving them efficient resupplies. Bad resupply players, missing doubles, putting players down at the wrong times can be the reason you lose a game. So like that is why it's so important at this level that you're just available and focused on the resupplying. Heavy weapons. All right. So back to the goal, the green goal of efficient, safe resupply. You are providing the safe element of efficient, safe resupply. Provide a safe resupply space. You are controlling the arena by providing a pocket where your team can get resupplied, kind of like you are the goalie and your resupply are the goal. And you're also able to look a little more into the midfield since you're farther forward and control the arena in that sense. Those areas that you stand are your territory. 3 hits in general, the heavy and commander, where they stand, they control that area, and 1-hit players can't really have access to it. So, where you choose to put yourself is important. And you're the heavy, so you don't get as much. Your reserve of lives and shots and the rate at which you get them back is low compared to the offensive players. So when there are lulls in the action, getting your resupply for yourself and keeping yourself high on that is really important. That's kind of your job. Create a home base and guard it. Any thoughts on this or questions?
I've always pictured the heavy as like a castle wall.
Mm.
Their job is quite literally to be the thing that separates, the princess up in her tower from any sort of danger. So it's your that offensive team of the scouts and commanders. They're trying to get past the heavy to reach the inside of the castle.
Mm. Absolutely. Some people might ask, why is it the heavy guardian? Why not a scout or a commander? 2 reasons. One, the heavy they run out of resupplies so quickly that it's beneficial for them to stay near them. And 2, they're optimal for taking down attackers. They have a slow rate of fire, and 1 shot will put anybody down. So commander comes in, maybe the commander gets the first shot off on you. Whatever, you get the shot off on the commander still, and they're down. Now you can maybe get your shield reset by one of your resupplies by having them resupply you, and keep defending. They're built for it.
Yeah, having that 3-shot shield definitely allows them to potentially go up against multiple people.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So one reason I specifically put resupply during lulls, heavies are notorious for dying early in games. There's a lot of pressure on you. If you're not up and guarding, your base is open to being attacked. And so a lot of times heavy weapons players feel like they need to stay up at all times, but it's a hard thing. You have to get resupply at some point. You have to figure that out. So keep your lives up. And people are often like, well, the heavy's really powerful. They should go attack. At a basic level, and I love attacking as heavy. There are times to do it. But I just noted that attacking as a heavy can create more problems than it solves if it's done incorrectly. So, like, this heavy strategy, this basic one, is cautious and defensive only. Your whole job is providing this space so that the offense can get resupply and get back on the field to do the attacking for you. At this level of play, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a good framework.
Okay. The offense, the commander and the 2 scouts. The commander, your job is to create successful attacks. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean an attack where you or you and your teammates are able to gather more hits on enemy players than they are gathering on you. That's how I'll define it. The most common way is you take down the heavy, you break into the resupply, you tag the ammo and the medic, and now all three of them are down and you're up and you can start resetting them. Resetting, super important mechanic. Do it. But it can look like a lot of other things. Just controlling two cross angles where you're repeatedly putting teams down, getting points. So you want to create successful attacks, whatever that looks like. There's a lot of variables in that. What angles are you holding? How are your teammates working with you, etc. You want to score points. This is the only position where the real just classic team supercharge goal of score a lot of points is really important. And I say that because it adds to one of your other win conditions, which is drop nukes. Nukes are so devastatingly important to winning Space Marine games. They are game changing. If you are one nuke short compared to the other commander, it creates a whole new. They have a whole advantage. Removing 3 lives from the enemy team, taking them all down. Even if you're not using it very effectively, it gives your team a chance to get a free resupply all at once. You need your nukes to go off. So if you can do these things, you'll be a pretty successful commander.
Absolutely. Nukes are such an interesting portion of your guys' format because they can be used in so many different ways. But they're a tool that definitely needs to be used.
100%. In this basic meta, I just advise drop your nukes as soon as you can. Once you get them, drop them, in a safe spot. Because it's just good principle that you shouldn't hold your nukes, especially after the first 5 minutes of the game. After the first 5 minutes, it is always possible, based on how the game's going, that you could kill out the enemy medic. That's really the only time where I'm like, there's no exception. If the enemy medic is at 3 lives and you have a nuke and you're choosing to hold it, whatever your reason is, it's a bad reason. I will stand by that. If you can kill the medic right now, there's no reason to hold your nuke. Well, maybe if you are literally in the middle of their team shooting everybody. That's the only reason.
If you're not safe.
If you're not safe and you're already doing it with your phaser successfully.
And this might be a good tidbit of low-level information, which I've learned the hard way a few times now. You can still shoot while you're trying to drop your nuke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so easy to get in a situation where you're panicked, where you think I am only doing one thing, and that's dropping my nuke. But no, you're still an active player.
Mm-hmm. But I say defend yourself. I mean, I have very seldom seen in very high-level situations a player nuking in front of the enemy team while attacking them. I've seen it happen. Yeah. Don't try this if you are at a basic level. Go hide in the farthest corner of the arena if that's what it takes to get your nuke off guaranteed safe, and use your phaser to defend yourself. If you get your nuke canceled, it is so bad for your team. Just
at higher level play, it's definitely discussed that dropping your nuke inside your resupply bubble is like a taboo, but it is one of the safest places in the arena. If that's what you require, if you just can't find a way of getting it off any other way.
Yep, that does depend on the competency of your team, because if you're at this level, it's happened before to me and to other people. Your resupply might accidentally think you're trying to get a resupply and they tag you down, or they're trying to defend you and the IR just hits completely to the side and they hit you when they're aiming not even at you. It's just risky.
You guys describe your IR as like a cloud, right?
It's like a reverse IR thing. Like it's kind of a bloom, I think. Someone else could explain it better than me.
But that's important to know, because when it comes to shooting, trying to resupply somebody for the same reason that it's dangerous for your nuke to get canceled, is it's not such a pinpoint situation when you're in those close proximities with someone. yeah, it's definitely, I've seen it happen where people accidentally are just standing too close.
Yeah. So yeah, drop them cautiously when you get them, because you never know when you're going to kill someone out. And also, I'd also say the reason is because when you nuke, it creates a momentum boost for your team. The enemy team kind of loses all their steam for 8 seconds. Maybe it gives some of your teammates resupplies that they need, or it gives them an attacking opportunity, gives them some territory. And now, for every second that goes by the enemy team isn't nuking, you are playing with that momentum boost. So I also think it's a good reason to drop when you can.
Yeah. And definitely notifying your other 3-hit, I think, in those situations is never a bad idea if you have one and you intend to drop it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's a little more advanced, because then your heavy might go attack, which the heavy's not doing in this situation.
True.
But
True. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah. Whoa, slow down, cowboy.
Sorry.
No. Don't be sorry. It's true, though. Like, you go back and you watch Brisbane last year, the top teams always had successful heavy nuke pushes. It's a great move. You're not doing it yet if you were in this level.
True. Yeah. You're just trying to find somewhere safe to get those 3 lives off the medic.
Absolutely. I would also say for the commander, get your bases early. This is the only position where it's really important that you get your bases within the first 10 minutes of the game, 5 minutes of the game, even 1 minute of the game, because a base gives you 5 special points. And if you get 10 special points, you're halfway to a nuke and you need to drop nukes. So don't save them for the end. It's a complete waste of those special points that are basically sitting there waiting for you.
Yeah, when you start the game, you don't start with all of your lives and shots. So those early nukes can be like extremely effective compared to allowing your opponent resupply to get full.
If you're a new commander and you're not getting all your missiles off every game, just missile the bases. It's okay. You give yourself 10 shots extra to play with in the actual like tagging of players, and just missile your bases. It is okay.
Yeah, I think that's especially important for heavy, considering that they have the slower shot rate and the smaller packets of shots.
Yeah, absolutely. Final note is just there's a lot of pressure on the commander where anytime you're not attacking, the enemy team's going to be having their easiest time getting resupplies. You have to come back for resupply, but just keep that in mind. It's important that you are making your presence known through successful attacks over on the enemy team. The best defense is a good offense, that kind of thing. Okay, spend enough time on that. Or did you have any other questions about Commander?
No.
All right. Scouts. Create successful attacks with the Commander. Control the arena with the heavy. Support your 3 hits. That's probably the only bulletin point you really need there. Support your 3 hits. The commander has certain jobs, the heavy has certain jobs. You're a support unit. Like, the cool thing about Scout is their flexibility. There's not like a one really right way you got to play it, but also not having any intention when you're playing it, not knowing why you're doing what you're doing isn't good either. So at the end of the day, I say just figure out what your team needs and support your 3 hits.
Yep.
2 notes I have: when the commander is back getting resupplied, that's likely when you most need to be attacking, right? You can help the commander by when they're getting resupplied, you attack their enemy resupply. And when your heavy is getting resupplied and they're struggling, that's when you most need to be back defending, adding some help to the defense. I hope that creates just like a really simple, pathway chart. If X, then Y. This is what I should kind of be doing as a scout in a basic way.
Yeah, you definitely are able to stay out a lot longer as a scout when it comes to like needing resupply. So prioritizing those moments for the 3 hits is definitely important.
Absolutely. Any questions about Scout?
Do you want to touch about rapid fire at all?
Sure.
Because I think as a new player, that can be kind of daunting.
Honestly, in the basics, I have no problem if you just don't use it. The problem with rapid
Okay.
fire is that I often see newer players just wasting tons of shots.
Yeah,
If
I think my one tip would be to, if you're going to activate it, pull the trigger for each shot still. Don't hold down the trigger.
yeah, just yeah, I've seen it so many times. They're just spraying and praying, and it is not. It's really hurting them. Even,
Yeah.
rapid fire is really useful against 3 hits, especially when you're able to see them just before they see you, and you can tag them down right away. Awesome. But for the most part, like you still, it's only a boost. It's not going to drastically change your output. So
Yeah, it's not a machine gun that some people, you're not sitting there with the big rotating barrel, pop, 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 like
right,
it
right.
just increases the rate in which you can shoot.
Completely agree. That's a great point. Okay. I kind of added this one. So, how do we figure out who plays what role on the team? I just made this little chart to kind of break it down into you think about 3 qualities. So for scoring, responsibility, and conformity. So scoring, basically, if you played a regular team supercharge, red versus blue, what players are really good at scoring lots of points? They just have
Mm.
whatever it is, that tag ability that they are at the top of the leaderboards, racking up the numbers. Cool. Responsibility. Is this person responsible? Can they handle important tasks that are assigned to them without forgetting or letting you down or doing something different? And conformity has to do with ego. Is this player willing to listen, do what is needed of them, as opposed to what they want to do? This is often an issue. I've certainly had a lack of conformity in my career. So I break it down like this, right? Like, ideally, like if you want to be a really good team, you should have a 5 out of 5 in all these categories for all your positions. I think having a medic that is great at scoring is super, super helpful. But when we're in these
Yeah.
positions where we're kind of scraping together like this, I don't know, this random ragtag, that's the word, a ragtag team of people from different backgrounds and different skill sets, trying to figure out who goes where. I think this is where I would try to help guide you. So the commander needs to be great at scoring points. They just have to. At the end of the day, like, their responsibility is just to drop nukes and be attacking. So as long as they're not like holding onto their nukes idiotically, then that it's not honestly that much responsibility at a basic level. And if you have an egotistic player who wants to do it their way, Commander's an okay spot for them. Like, sometimes when your team just really needs them to come back and help them because their base is getting destroyed, or like, drop your nuke, and then they won't drop their nuke because they feel like they know best or whatever. Like, that can suck. But compared to the other roles, you don't need as much conformity as the commander. For heavy, I think it's so important that they can score points and tag people well. But if we're playing the basic strategy, the fact that the heavy can set up in angles and like predict when enemies are coming in kind of offsets the need to have a crazy tag ability. They just need to be responsible. Responsibility is really important for the heavy. You cannot be like, you are so important. If you don't do your job, the team's going to lose. You're not going to have a resupply zone. So, and you'll die out early. There's just a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
And kind of put a 3 for conformity. Like, you need to defend your base. But if the heavy's doing something useful in a different part of the field, that's still really helpful. They're so powerful. I'd really prefer to have a heavy who is willing to conform, but it can be worked around.
Yeah, the conformity for heavy is interesting because there's a lot of different ways in which that you can protect the resupply. Like, there isn't just one way where like you're one wall set away, looking at the one sight line that like your ammo can't see. Like, you can be a bit of a satellite at times. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So scout, it is nice to have a scout that is gaining more points for you than they are losing. I think that's really important. But at the end of the day, if you have a scout that isn't able to score very much, you can always limit their role by just putting them in one spot that's going to generally work for the team. This is a high traffic area. Here's the best spot to attack that area. This is your spot. Guard this, right? If you have a really irresponsible player, scout's the best place to put them. Like, it's the place they can do the least damage, or where their actions are going to have the least chance of being completely catastrophic or useless. Whatever choice you make on scout, apart from tagging your own teammates on purpose, should be at least somewhat useful.
That's fair.
Same for conformity. Like, again, I can't stress it. Like, I think all 3 of these qualities help all 5 of these positions, but sometimes you're working with a player that they just aren't that good at scoring points, or maybe they're 10 they're not very responsible, or they have a huge ego and they only want to play the one role their way. Okay, well, if we want a chance to win, we're working with what we got, right? In the basics, you don't really need your ammo and medic to be scoring a lot of points. It's nice if they do. It's really helpful if they do. I love me some DK 5K ammo from Nats last year, but in the basics, you don't need that. You do need them to be responsible. I kind of put the 5-3 here for a reason. If you have one, a lot of times you can kind of turn one of the resupplies into the leader of the 2. So if you have one really responsible resupply and one who's willing to follow the leader, that can kind of make up for a lack of responsibility.
That makes sense.
And then I think ammo and medic players have to have a huge ability to conform because their team is so reliant on them. What they do is so dependent on how the team is doing. And I just think it takes a lot of humility. Like, it's a really thankless job a lot of times. I recommend every team. I think it'd be really cool if we had a day where every team bought their resupply lunch that day. We're going to say thank you to all of you for the duty you do to us. Because we cannot win the game without you, talking as anybody but the resupply. So be very thankful for them. They often go completely unappreciated and unnoticed. It's always the high-scoring commanders and big performances from other roles that get credit.
Yeah, they are the lifeline of the team. Without them, the elimination of this game would, you wouldn't need 15-minute games without that role.
I really want to say, like, in recent, just right this moment, ammo is my current favorite position. There is a lot of nuance to resupply when you're playing at a higher level. This is like level 1. You can grow beyond it pretty quickly, honestly. Listen to the podcasts. Yeah. But yeah. Do you have any questions about any of this?
No, I don't think any questions specifically. I think it reads pretty well as far as the importance of each role.
I could add 25 more qualities, but this just tries to make it pretty simple.
Yeah, it's good to have your expectations kind of set. One of the first things that I had asked Stu when I was wanting to get better and needing some sort of rubric for just those first level goals was I asked him what's a good commander score, what's a good heavy score, so that way I could walk out of a game and engage what is a higher tier player expecting to see from themselves in the same game, so I could have something to to aim for. And what's funny is I have some numbers written down for those scores, and the heavy and scout are the exact same number. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where it's the commander is definitely the person who it's his goal to outscore everyone else because he has this that specific opportunity as the head of the spear of the offense.
That's also arena dependent between heavy and scout. I'll probably talk about this later in a different episode about Syracuse, but Syracuse, compared to other arenas, their scouts have the highest difference in score compared to the average, compared to other arenas. Like scouts in
Interesting.
Syracuse specifically get a boost. It's a really powerful position here. So I bet
Cool.
I bet you we're gonna see more scouts in second place on their team compared to heavies compared to most other tournaments.
I would agree. It's definitely one of those situations where the action's definitely happening around the commander, and because of that, the scouts kind of get brought into that, where they're forced to be a part of those attacks at a much higher rate, and compared to the heavy, like needing to defend.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I also think it has a lot to do with the long hallways. Scouts are really good when they can be not seen and put 3 into 3
Mm,
hits. So plenty
yeah.
of sniper angles here.
Well, also to like maximize the advantage of what the commander's capable of, having a scout put one shot into a 3 hit is so valuable.
Hmm.
And like you said, those long hallways give you those opportunities where the scout may be attacking first by taking that first shot, but it's the commander who's actually nearby, who's I like to call it the reset frenzy, is what he's trying to achieve. Where it's something that at this level, what we're discussing right now, like if you're not finding opportunities where you're getting 2 people that are down and you're resetting off of them, that is a lofty goal. I find myself struggling creating those moments for myself.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Reset frenzy.
Yeah.
Super good big part of setting up successful attacks.
Yes. Yeah, and honestly, for any role, if
Mm.
you're a heavy and you're defending and there's multiple attackers, if you're in a reset frenzy on people who are in your resupply, they will leave. That is an opportunity for them to keep you turned off.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna move on here.
Sure.
Okay. Some notes on just win conditions and team identity. So, based on what I just talked about, don't go in. I recommend as part of the meta, like, don't go into tournaments thinking we need to build a certain kind of team. Build the best team you can and try to build your identity around it. So you're going to, at this level, follow the meta. At the same time, it's important to recognize, like, okay, we got a really strong commander, and everyone else is kind of like average-ish. So our big way that we need to win is we need to enable our commander to succeed. Maybe that means we put more scouts. We pair up scouts to help him, or we have like scouts going back to shore up the defense because we know our commander can handle it out there. Maybe we're a little more like we're even across the board, and our scouts are really good at the hit diff, so we're gonna have them like we're gonna play more control style. We're getting a little more advanced here, but the point is just like recognize you're gonna have a unique identity as a team based on the pieces that you have to play with, and that's okay. Don't feel like you have to force what everyone else is doing. Any thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I'm curious. I'm curious for because I have a lot of experience in the Syracuse arena over the years, even though I haven't had much tournament experience.
Mm.
So I feel like I've gotten a really good grasp on the like tactics and like areas that people play. And from my experience, the offense and defense are actually quite far away from each other. But with having your store being Loveland as a tri-level arena, do you have that same experience?
So are you talking about like where the resupply get placed?
Yeah, so are your resupply and your like the commander scout, like your offense and your defense, is there much opportunity to kind of like bounce back for like the offensive team and actually like be a part of the defense at times? Like because your store is vertical rather than really long.
Yeah, I would say that everything's a little more mushed together compared to Syracuse, where things are maybe a little more isolated around the map in different encounters. Loveland has a
Yeah.
lot of opportunities for like the top floor to look at the second floor, and there's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of fighting together all as one group.
So the win conditions could be extremely different if you're allowed to have proximity. Because you can have an
Yeah,
aggressive team in Loveland, it sounds like, that still has the opportunity to help a defensive like goal at the beginning of the game. But in Syracuse, that's a little bit more difficult. If you're being aggressive, you're not in proximity to your resupply usually.
Yeah. Let me share something else really quickly. So if you're going into a tournament and you're like, okay, I want to figure out what is the best, like, what are the good win conditions for this arena in particular? How does it differ? Because you're so right. The way that we're talking about this general meta, if we go to Loveland, there's a lot of nuance. If we go to Syracuse, there's nuance. If we go to Brisbane, there's nuance. So don't be afraid to just hop on into LF Stats. Go look up like the most recent tournament if they have one. So if we're going to Brisbane, go to Internationals 2025. Look at the center stats. I think this is a really good way to help you. We noticed that the elimination rate is higher than I thought. The elimination rate looks like it's oh man, I can't math. It's like 55-ish. No, 54 elimination rate. Okay. So about half the games, a little more than half the games, end in an elimination. If I were to go a little deeper, though, I remember this, thankfully. You look at the teams, and the only teams that were getting eliminations were basically the top two Brisbane teams. They were basically eliminating everybody. Meanwhile, a lot of the other games are being drawn out into points-based games. So that can help determine, do I win by outscoring the enemy team, or do I win by eliminating the enemy team? And how does that change our tactic? Syracuse is similar to Brisbane. The top teams are going to get a lot of eliminations, but a lot of times you can just survive a game. It's such a big place. There's a lot of places to hide. So it's not a bad idea to play more for hit diff and outscoring the enemy team than for eliminating, as an example. But in Loveland, the elimination rate in 24 was like 90%. You're going to kill out the enemy team if you're going to win.
What about St. George? So I know they have
high elimination,
like a bio-level arena, right? Not quite a 2-floor. So you're
it's a high elimination arena. They're small. They don't use the second floor. It's like it's probably like a third of the size of Syracuse, or maybe half.
Okay.
So in general, the bigger the arena, the less elimination likelihood. Therefore, the more you should focus on hit diff. The smaller the arena, basically the harder it is to recover from any successful attacks on you, and therefore the more likely an elimination. And that can change how you play, especially for the commander. Am I going for racking up lots of points by floating the midfield, or am I diving into the medic and trying to kill them out of the game?
Yeah, definitely. Setting up that commander scout, like, duo or trio, can be done in like the midfield in some arenas, but then others, it's a lot more difficult. So,
right,
that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's crazy. We're talking about the basic meta. These principles really do work across every arena. You should always be trying to set up a base to protect your resupply and give your team resupplies. That's a good principle. You should always be trying to create successful attacks, but the way it looks across arenas really differs.
Absolutely. And Armageddon is definitely not a good rubric for what that's like, having an 8-man team. Just so many scouts to have to resupply.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, and that would change how I would build that team. Anyway.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna keep going here.
Sure.
Yeah, I only got a few more slides here. So I want to talk about early game. Early game, mid game, late game. So early game is like the first 1 minute-ish of the game. The goal is to set up your base, find and attack the enemy base. We're setting up the chessboard, really. So you'll want to find a place that is defensible, ideally with only 1 or 2 entryways to put your medic. And you want to find out where the enemy team is going so you can begin sending your commander and scouts over that direction. That's the early game. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. The mid game I felt was kind of complicated to explain, so I kind of simplified it into like basically it's a race to outpace the enemy team over the course of like 10 to 13 minutes. You're trying to win a war of attrition of the following three things: resupplies, points, and medic hits. And again, you may prioritize some a little more than others based on the arena and the context. Any questions on that?
No.
I think people will not often look at resupplies as one of the things that you should be trying to accumulate more of over the game. It's almost like just by playing the game, you're going to lose lives and shots certain rate every minute. If you can enter minute number 11 with more lives and shots than the enemy team, because you have accumulated more by outpacing them over that amount of time, it opens up a lot of options for you. It's an advantage. Even though you don't win off of resupplies, resupplies enable you to get other things.
Yeah, definitely.
And then endgame. Endgame is complicated. There are so many endgame situations to explain, like what is the best move. It can depend on, are we playing a match? Are we in finals? Did we win the last game? Did we lose the last game? So your goals in end games are complicated. But in a vacuum, I'm going to explain 3 end games. So scenario number 1, it's the final 2 to 3 minutes and nobody has died. This may be hard to tell. It could also be if you hear the 60 seconds left counter over the loudspeaker. Stop resupplying. That is over. Whatever you have will last you the rest of the game. If you end the game with like 20 lives and 40 shots, that was like 30 seconds, 20 seconds you wasted in your resupply that you could have been out fighting. Because you just didn't need it. It doesn't count for anything at the end. Ideally, you kind of want to end low, if possible. Because it just means you maximized your time. So once the game is coming to an end, stop resupplying and go fight, including the resupplies. They don't really, unless someone's low right that second, they don't need you anymore to be available for filling them up. Get your bases. Can't stress how fundamental this is in every arena all the time. Worth 1,000 points each, 1,001. So get them. And this is often the time when teams will all go rush to get their bases before the game ends. Which is why...
Yeah, those late game... Oh, sorry.
Last thing, which is why another good principle is go guard your team's base in case they're trying to get their bases. Then you can fight them and stop them. Go ahead.
Those late game specialty points can be a huge boon for the resupply. That if they didn't have the opportunity during the game, getting those bases and that extra 10 specialty points can be huge.
I understand what you mean, but I would actually say because they don't really need to fill their team much anymore, if resupply can get their bases earlier on, that's cool, but it's not as necessary as like the commander getting them, in my opinion.
True. Yeah, I guess if the goal is to, in those last 60 seconds, get points to win, then for the resupply, the specialty points aren't as important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, scenario number 2. You eliminate the enemy medic first. Whether this happens after 10 minutes or 14 minutes, this now initiates an end game once the enemy medic is dead. First, everyone on your team should go and get some extra lives. Think about it. The moment you kill the medic, you have cut off everyone else's ability to have lives. Whatever they have is all they're going to have. So if the enemy team has this many lives and you're at this many lives, but you have a medic, go just increase that. Just everyone go back, get some lives quick. If your medic might die soon anyway, if theirs is dead. So once you have that advantage, then everyone push for the elimination. And what you'll kind of see is, if it's like, okay, your team, their team, we're going to see all the lives dwindle down at the same rate-ish, but you'll end up alive.
Right.
Any questions on that?
Nope.
Cool. Finally, number 3, your medic is eliminated first. Sometimes the right move is to hide, but I'm I'm not getting nuanced here. In general, the right move when your medic is eliminated first is now time to go balls to the wall, everyone attack, and try to kill out their medic. Just full push. Because if you can do it, you might create a situation where they don't get time to fill up the way I just described in the last scenario. And maybe you'll all wind up about the same on lives. Then you fight it out to see who survives. Go down swinging. It's really, you're not going to win if you don't take this risk. If you all go hide, you're pretty much just saying, okay, we lose. Cool. And sometimes that's the right move. Like if you won the last game and you're trying just not to get eliminated this game so you win the match, that's a time when maybe you should just go hide. But in general, go kill the enemy medic.
Is it worth mentioning the elimination bonus?
Absolutely. Yeah, sorry. If you eliminate the enemy team, you get 10,000 bonus points, which is great. So sometimes it's preferential to lose a game without getting eliminated than to get eliminated. Or take the risk and get eliminated.
Yeah, for this specific scenario, it seems more relevant because if your medic dies out and they're winning, it's vital to get them eliminated because that's really your only chance to get that extra bonus if you can't, really, beat them on points in game.
Exactly. Okay, we're gonna keep going here. Couple more little bullet points I'm gonna add. Shot calling. You're gonna need someone on the team to be the leader in the game in general. Teams do this organically, kind of whether you like it or not. You kind of form a big unit, like you're one organism, and somebody, whether like 1 to 3 players, is going to end up being the head of that organism. And they're going to end up, people will be looking to them for direction when things are going chaotic. So my recommendation, and this falls into the meta, like it typically is a defensive player. The reason is they're in the home base and everyone will cycle back to the leader throughout the game. If you're an offensive player, you have no idea where most of your team is and you don't know what's going on. So it's probably not ideal. We call it the commander position, but it has nothing to do with leading people or telling other people what to do. It's just what the position's called.
Yeah, it's just the guy who gets to flip those little plastic cases and press both buttons,
Yes, exactly. I recommend whoever your leader is, that they have leadership abilities, that they have experience in SM5, maybe be the most experienced player. Your shot caller does not have to be your best player. It just should be someone who is very experienced. And finally, I think this situation often works out organically. Sometimes you have people butting heads over leadership, which I have thoughts on that. Leadership is a responsibility. It's not a privilege. And if you're in it for the power, just to feel good like you're in charge of everybody, you probably shouldn't be in charge. Sorry. But whoever organically the group respects as the leader oftentimes ends up just being the shot caller.
Yeah, the temperament of the leader is very important. If you have 2 people that have like equal experience, sometimes it's valuable for the person who knows that they don't have the appropriate temperament to be an in-game leader to just share their information with the other person and let them make the calls.
100%. Finally, maintaining shots and lives, the one bullet point win condition we never touched on, which was actually touched on a few times in different ways. Basically, to keep it very simple for everybody, across every position, when you are below 10 lives and 10 shots, when you're below 10 lives or 10 shots, it's time to go back for resupplies. I know you could keep fighting. I know you might have a good situation in front of you that you don't want to give up. But the reason for this is because enemy nukes and resets can put you at critical unexpectedly quickly. It's happened to plenty of people. You're at 10 lives, you get nuked, And on the way back, you get reset 4 times and you arrive critical with 3 lives, and your whole team's back because other people need resupplies, and now you're panicking. Thank goodness you came back at 10 and not at 7, or you'd be dead. Or 8 and you'd be on 1.
Yeah, there's a lot of circumstances where I found myself as a new player underestimating this point. You know, most games there's 3 nukes, just as a plain blanket statement. And if that happens all at once, that's 9 lives. That math is probably understandable by just about anyone. If you come back at 10, someone drops 9 or three nukes, you lose 9 lives, you're at 1. You know.
Yep.
And you can't assume that the moment you get back that the resupply is going to be in a position to resupply you as well.
Spot on.
So having that buffer. So even 12, you know, it should be on your mind of like, okay, I might need a slight buffer to make sure I'm coming back at an opportune moment.
100%. Absolutely. Plus, your team might be panicking and they might friendly fire you. It's happened. It's happened plenty of times.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you're that low, it's likely that your opponent's doing pretty well.
Yeah, you should never die before your medic for any reason. That's the whole point of this. Once you're down a player, your chances of winning the game get pretty drastically low. Only once in my entire career have I ever seen any team intentionally, strategically sacrifice a scout. And I don't think it worked. You can ask Odin's Fist. Only time I've ever seen a strategic sacrifice of a player.
That sounds terrible, but I guess if it was necessary.
Okay, just to review the big picture, this is what you're up for, why we're doing all this. Efficient, safe resupplies, drop your nukes, successful attacks, control the arena, maintain lives and shots. That is the meta. Any questions?
Nothing specific at the moment.
Awesome.
I did have a you had mentioned the things that we were going to discuss today, and I thought this was kind of a good short explanation for win conditions. I just wanted to say, I wrote down, be the team that creates the most opportunities and capitalizes on the most mistakes.
Yeah, that's good. That's a very good principle right there.
As just as a general idea of, you don't have to have the most specific plans in every single game as a new player. But you should always be trying to create opportunities for you and your teammates, and then recognizing when your opponents are making mistakes.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's good, broad, principled advice. Obviously, you want to do those things. I think for newer players, it's often like, I don't know what those opportunities look like. How do I know what the mistakes even are that I should be capitalizing on, and how do I do that? It comes with skill and time. It all comes back to the building blocks. When you're at this level, it's like juggling. Like if you'd never juggled before, you got to start with like 2 balls and get the motions down. It can be really easy, especially in your first few tournaments, to be overwhelmed with the amount of things you need to do to become better to win your games. But you can only handle so much information at once. And so, like, if you're at level 1, these are the things to focus on. But over time, you will begin to learn, oh, that would have been a great opportunity for me as the resupply to leave my base and go get the bases early. Or for me as the heavy to go push out in the field a little more and leave my base undefended. Breaking the rules because you see mistakes and opportunities to capitalize on, absolutely. The best teams do that. They know when to break the rules. But back to my initial story, there is a time when you shouldn't break the rules because it's going to hurt you more than it'll help you.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Shall we go over the questions that you the extra ones you sent me?
Sure. Yeah. Those are just things that were fresh on my mind from my most recent experience out in Syracuse.
You asked, how do you identify an opponent's role in game? Is there any story behind that one?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's pretty obvious to find the separation between a one hit and a three hit. But to break it down further in game can be really difficult with your pack making audio, the speakers making audio, people calling stuff out. It's really hard to separate the little bits of information in the game to figure out who you're actually fighting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's hard because different roles have different ways of telling. So, like if you're a heavy, everyone goes down at once, so you can't tell based on how many shots it takes to take them down. Um, but a scout could tell a three hit from a one hit, for example,
Yeah.
or a commander can tell if they get hit down in one shot. Hey, that's the heavy. Um, it's kind of it's like a game of Clue. I almost want to say it's like you're picking up pieces of evidence and then you can sort out the rest.
Okay.
I look at behavior, I think, above all things. I kind of showed you that the six players standing in line, and like if you have a player who's hiding in the back corner behind the rest of their team, that's obviously a resupply player, probably the medic. Now we have
Okay.
a little ding whenever you shoot the medic, so that really helps.
Yes. Uh, Funny enough, the last time I went out, went through the entire event and then was told that literally last day we were done, and me and Stu went back in, and Fox opened up the store for us so that we could turn the system on, just so I could hear it in a non-high stress situation, and just to hear what it sounds like. I can try to get used to it.
I gotta admit, I'll publicly admit, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the ding. It is like I know it's just playing. It's preying on my lower senses, but it gives me this huge rush of dopamine every time I get a medic hit. I'm like, yes, I did it. I got the medic, and it makes me just
It, I
want
mean,
more.
it's the most valuable point.
Yeah,
All pack points are not equal.
yeah. Gone, however, are the days of confusing enemy teams by having them guessing all game which one to use the medic versus the ammo.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it improves the game ultimately. Helps teams hone in on the right target, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the hardest players to tell are often the three hits. The heavy probably will be back defending, and the commander will probably be attacking. But early on, they often can be doing similar things. Players who have the ability to guarantee the information, I think the real best way to identify is to call it out. If I'm the heavy and I immediately trade with a commander, well, actually, I can't tell if they're the commander right away. But if I trade with the heavy right away and they put me down in one, I will call out blank is heavy. And now my whole team should know. And
Yeah.
if I'm commander and I have to put two into somebody and they put two into me, hey, we're both commanders. Blank is the commander. Yell it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I guess the situational awareness is a big factor in figuring out the specifically like medic ammo or heavy commander.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
paying
for
attention
sure.
to what they're doing. Like you said, the medic will likely be the person most hidden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
that's good.
Good.
Cool.
That helps.
Yeah.
You asked, do you need to path with only the first 4 seconds of your deactivation, or only path when the person who shot you doesn't have a reset? So you're talking about like the backtracking, the trails.
Yeah.
So imagine it. I imagine a little bit. What's that game with the ink blob people, where you're like painting behind you as you go? I'm forgetting.
Uh,
Platoon or
I don't,
Squatoon? I'm forgetting. Sorry.
but I think yeah, Platoon's the one where you got like the paintball guns. Is that the same one?
Is it Platoon or is it
Like
some
Splatoon? It like Splat? Splatoon? Or is that a different one?
um
I don't know if I've played
I
that one.
sound so old right now. Splatoon. Spla it's like splat. Splat-toon. Gosh. Okay, well in the game Splatoon, as you run, you're leaving a trail of paint behind you. So everyone oh, my focus is going crazy. Hello. So that way Well, I guess this is happening now.
Might fix itself.
There we are. So everyone can tell where you've been walking. The way I imagine it is as soon as you're deactivated, you are leaving a Splatoon trail behind you. So there's paint all over the floor behind you, marking the area. And if a player follows you on it for more than 10 feet, or what is usually 3 steps, they can no longer target you without receiving a penalty. Once you come up, you basically count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, then the trail will instantly vanish. But it's still there for those first 2 seconds. Something that the Rook told me, and I'm so glad I have some clarity on this. That is enough time for you to missile someone who has chased you without them having the ability to retaliate. So if somebody has chased you and you come up, you may, refs, listen up. You may missile that person and they cannot fire back at you while you missile them.
It's got to be close for the time it takes to, hear those 3 tones.
Can't be a long missile. You gotta do. Should be enough time.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But no, whether they have a reset on you or anything doesn't matter. You can't even, if you chase somebody on that path and the path hasn't dissipated yet, you cannot even aim at them without a penalty.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
I think my question is a little bit more specific in regards to if you're trying to use your path as a way to prevent someone to follow you into a cubby, like when you're back at near resupply.
Okay.
You only have that first 4 seconds of invulnerability where you can't be targeted physically, not because of the path, but because of
I see. Okay.
the PAX allotment. Obviously when nukes go off, that's usually the most situations I see where people will purposely take the time to create a path and then go back to where they started.
So you're asking, is it wise to make a path in the first place?
Yeah. Are there other situations where that's worth doing?
Sorry for explaining trails in such detail. I misunderstood the question. But
No, it's good.
Makes mistakes.
Because that way, the language for what I'm actually trying to discuss has now been stated.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, that's contextual. It depends on what your role is, what you're guarding. I guess I probably have to go back to the principle idea. In principle, it is always wise, it is wise to use your deactivated time usefully. So when you're deactivated, you can't fire. Okay, you've lost that ability to do things, but you can still talk, listen, look. You can distract, you can make paths, and pathways are a good way to protect territory. How do you want to use your time? I think the most common times I use pathways are as the heavy weapons position, when I am guarding a vital hallway and I need to get resupplies. I'll get a resupply, I'll make a path. And then if they chase me in, I can tag them down and keep my base. Yeah, I think defensive positions tend to benefit a lot more from the pathing than offensive positions.
Yeah, I could see that. Because having someone push into your resupply area and having one less person that they can target is a pretty big boon for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess I was probably thinking a lot deeper into the concept of pathing than this video probably would require the opportunities, because it is definitely situational in which that might be useful.
Yeah, it's not that I want to keep anything secret. It's just it's like you need to show me a specific situation and we can talk about the pros and cons of it.
Yeah, you would need to know the quantity of attackers and who's up and
yeah.
Is there a 10-foot path to a pocket or something?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's do this. So let's see. Oh, why don't I have this? Hold on, I need to share your map again.
Ah,
Here we go. Boop. And boop. Okay, you can see my mouse.
yeah, let me expand it a little bit so it's a little clearer. Okay, yep.
Okay, so I'm up, my mouse is up here on the top left behind Y area. Okay, say I'm right here. And enemy team is pushing in. If I get tagged down, I can run back to E door, and now they can't follow me in from Cuckoo's Nest into E door. However, I've seen it plenty of times that there's enough time for the enemy player to just run around the bottom route behind Y
Yeah.
and attack E door. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, like the quickest path from Cuckoo's to Edor, like in a straight line, would be an opportunity to create a path, but because you can go behind the Y to break it up, that's what
yeah,
you're saying is
it may even potentially like, yeah, maybe I can just go in, I'm following for 5 feet, go behind Y, and now I'm no longer on the path, and so I can attack. So
right.
sometimes that's not a, sometimes trails aren't very helpful. But maybe if I'm over here by blue base and my resupply are back in the blue hall, I'm going to run back to my resupply. I've blocked off their ability to attack from blue base. They have to run all the way around the other side. Maybe they'll do it. Maybe they have time. Maybe they don't.
From your perspective, is your cursor anywhere near blue base right now?
Yeah. Is it for you?
No, you're circling green resupply right now. For some reason, I
Oh.
think the map's more zoomed in from my perspective.
Oh, I did zoom in. I did zoom in. But I guess it only showed
I
it to
noticed. I
me.
noticed it because you said behind Y and you went south of Foxhole. That's how
Okay.
I understood because I know the arena and I made the map. But why don't you try that again for just where you're?
Yeah. Thanks for
Maybe try
catching
to
that.
try to path Blue Hall just so I can see like your cursor.
Can you
And
see that?
okay,
So
yep,
like, suppose I'm here. Sorry, this is what I meant. If I'm here and my resupplier back here, right? And the enemy team is out here, then I could path back this way, and the green player would have to go all the way around through Dylan's pocket, all the way around to attack me.
yeah,
However, if there were a nuke, my ammo and medic could both go up here and they could path into this way, supposedly. And then I path this way, and now it's a huge mess. And if the green players want to attack us, they probably have to wait till we are reactivated before they can do it.
yeah. And what's interesting is like depending on where this is done, is it might take them 8 seconds to path the long way around, so you have a chance to come back up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're just trying to find areas to try to create an opportunity that it is 8 seconds long, it really does matter because the original explanation of like behind Y, if
Yeah, yeah.
if you start, yeah. So like if you're close to behind Y, like on the left side of it, you might not be a distance in which that if they went around that you're going to have a chance to activate because the straight line is definitely within 8 seconds.
For sure. So it's very nuanced. If it was a nuke and my ammo, came out and made this trail, they probably have to go a little
Mhm.
further actually. If they came out and made this trail, we've both passed. At least one of us will be able to shoot them and
Right.
keep our base. Trails are really important in high level play. They're actually a huge feature of Space Marines 5, uniquely. Some people aren't a fan of them. They make it sound like it complicates it, but it allows your body, your positioning, to have huge impact on the game. So
Yeah,
they're
I
definitely good to
actually I
recognize.
like them. I
Good,
think that
good.
it's a very healthy rule to have because having a system where you can be shot when your pack is unable to shoot is unique
Hmm.
and could be extremely toxic if there weren't rules like this.
Yeah, and we don't want to give up that rule either. The resetting is really quite a fun piece of the game. It makes it really rewarding.
Yeah, I agree because it is something that you can sometimes find as an opportunity But when you get to a level where you can create those moments where you're resetting people, it does feel really good to be able to like, accomplish that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the final things I'll say about trails here are like, from this perspective, these two players, like the green player can't see what all is going on around them. If this red player, they backtrack, there's a psychological element to it. The green player may somewhat in their mind check off, I can't go back there, and they might just leave. Even if they theoretically could go around, it's possible that they're going to just make an assumption based on what they can see. I need to leave that alone, or I have other things I'm going to do. Especially if like the red player is like, I have a trail. There's a lot to it. But
yeah, and in like the nuke situation, it's really important that like if somebody chains a nuke, those trails can get quite long. And it's not the player's responsibility to explain to someone that they have a long trail.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it is kind of like a defensive technique, right? It's not that I'm trying to kindly explain to them. It's that I want the eyes the eyes of the refs glued to me.
Yeah.
And I might even want to give the impression that I am more protected by trails than I actually am.
Sure.
I have trails. Well, maybe I don't from the back way, but I do from the front way. I'm not lying.
Yeah, I just saying I haven't come up yet. If you yeah, like that they still need to know where that is. They might have if someone started at Foxhole and intersected this path of the red line, they don't their path just started. They can shoot you,
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's not up to you to monitor all these things. It's up to the refs. And as long as you're not intentionally cheating, there's nothing wrong with using these vocalizations to your advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's worth noting that on the opposite side of things, it is important for you to tell your teammates if you see paths and they might intersect in a way, that could cause them to get a penalty.
Yeah, you don't want your teammates to get penalties. That's not good.
Yeah, we actually struggled with that a lot in Armageddon because we've got 16 people in the arena at once. So you can imagine how complex the paths would be and how many there are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right, let's I'm not gonna save all that. Let's see. Cool. Let's see, we have a few more from you. You said pre-firing question mark. You want to elaborate?
Yeah. So when I first started, I had to play against Micro, Scythe, and Brew.
It's a bunch of pre-firers right there.
So my experience with them, the reason I bring up those people specifically is because Micro played, like everything he did was perfect. Like his game sense, the way that he came around walls, he did everything that was like, he only peaked the perfect amount, and then Scythe was like so fast at everything that he did. And then Brew was just so smart. So you'd see him, with this phaser just at his chest. Well, it looks like he's just walking around. And I couldn't figure out that all three of these guys could get 2 shots into me when we're heads up, peeking the same wall, the same angle. And so like over the years, I've had to try to figure out like, what is the thing that like is separating me other than the fact that I'm over peaking in those situations. And there's something that was brought up at this last shindig that I was at, that there is a concept of pre-firing.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up because if you're a newer player, it can feel unfair. Why is this happening? What's the difference between you and I?
Yeah.
So what are you asking?
Is there any sort of way that a new player could start to play with that concept where in Syracuse specifically, you can see pack lights on the walls pretty easily. It's a pretty dark arena, and the walls are really uniform in color throughout the arena. So you could start to pre-fire based on how bright like the light gets on the wall. I guess it's one of those things where I want to try to get that part of the mechanical skill better in my own game, but knowing like, should I waste an early shot with the chance that it might intersect with somebody's shoulder, or should I not assess who it is I'm shooting for the opportunity to accidentally shoot your teammate? Like what does your mind think of when you think of like how would you teach someone to pre-fire?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm trying to find some good footage here that could be useful.
I guess for newer players, to explain it a little bit better, your body physically, it takes time to squeeze a trigger, right? So like pre-firing might just be the time it takes you to physically think about shooting, pulling the trigger and having a shot coming out of your phaser. It might not necessarily be that you're physically shooting before there's an actual thing to shoot.
Right. Yeah, so one of the hard things is that when you're a newer player, a lot of your conscious effort is already going towards building muscle memory for lots of other things. Just learning the arena, how to like move around without slamming into walls, just being aware of your surroundings. When you play in an arena for
everywhere.
Right.
That's what it feels like. If you don't know the arena, that's from my experience, everything's a dead end.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't recommend that like you focus on this super hard at the beginning, because this has been a debate in the community for a long time. I really do think there are a bunch of situations where your athleticism, your ability to come around walls quickly does win you extra points. However, it is far more important that you just stand in the right spots. There are lots of players who don't pre-fire and have had great success. I always feel like I'm calling out Thunder as like, Thunder doesn't move very fast, but Thunder is kind of a slow, methodical player. He hits you in the back. That's how he gets you. He shuts you down by outthinking you. And that's pretty much what you want to do.
Yeah, it's probably worth shouting out that I did watch Kodama's video on your channel, and that I'm choosing to bring up mechanical tactics, even though it's something that is described as something that you should worry about later.
No, of course. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, I think I finally found just a little tiny clip that I can actually use. It took me longer than I thought. All right, we're going to go see my friend Sabo in his little scout game. Just a cute little 2.84 hit diff game. So the way you want to think about it is when you fire the phaser in a Laserforce pack, the way the signal works is that you actually have a minor window, it's less than a second, where you can detect targets. So I don't know, if 1 second is like 100%, then you have about 40 to 50% in my estimate of that second where you can find targets. You could be swinging the phaser and actually kind of as a paintbrush scan an area, and you will tag one of the targets in that area. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
So it's kind of like it's almost like for a brief moment you have the laser and you can move the laser around and find a target within that half a second window. We'll call it a half second just to make it simple. So if I'm targeting over here and I pull the trigger and in like a nanosecond sweep past your vest, I can tag you. Even though I did not have you in my sights the moment that the pack began to try to look for someone to tag.
Okay. Oh, so what you're describing is why we can double.
Exactly.
Right?
Because if I resupply you and then my friend resupplies you 0.2 seconds after me, we both have met the window and your pack is not shut off yet. So it's collecting other things. An enemy player could
Yeah.
tag you and take away a life in that window too. You could get tagged by like 10 people, theoretically.
Yeah, because can't you technically be shot by 2 scouts and lose 2 lives in the same
Yes.
moment?
Yes, you can. You can also get double missiled. That's very fun. You can lose 4 lives all at once.
That would be brutal.
Yeah. Once I tag you, there is like that quarter second, half second window where it's waiting for other inputs to submit before it locks in. You have lost a life. You've lost 2 lives. You have gotten resupplied. All right. Sometimes if I'm
Yeah.
resupplying someone, like if my heavy is getting shot down, I can give them shots as they're going down so that they lose a life but get 5 shots back.
Yes, yes, that is something that I had Stu explain to me like 3 times in a row because I was like, I understand the words that you're saying, but how is that possible? Um, and like, I guess understanding that window of time better is what I was missing.
So I'm trying to slow this down really fast. I don't think Sabo like quite pre-fires this. Let's see. He was a little slow on that actually. But theoretically, right here, he starts moving up. There's just that
Mhm.
little millisecond. Right this moment, he could pull the trigger and he could fire at the wall. He fires at the wall, but oh wait, sorry, I was a little slow. Here he comes, and whoop! Right there, you could pull the trigger, aiming at the wall while you're moving up. And right there, the ray that you have cast would then target your opponent,
Mm,
and it would lock in on the back half of your time window.
right.
And then you could pull the trigger again and potentially get a second one in while they are just now having access to your target. Likewise, you could actually, if you're really good, you can do the other way. They could have been aiming up at Sabo, and they could fire before his phaser even shows. And if he walks into that ray within the half-second window, Sabo would go down.
Trying to catch his shoulder being the first thing that comes up.
Right. Because if it's like it's already there, just imagine it's like a
Yeah.
ray that sits out for a half second. If he walks into it with his shoulder plate, he'll go down. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
So
I think a
anyway,
lot of this was exemplified for when I first started playing in Detroit, because the top floor has all of those like half wall triangles.
hmm
Have you played in Detroit before?
oh yeah, it's probably my favorite arena.
Okay, cool. So you can picture that long hallway up
hmm
green ramp where you've got all those triangle windows in a row.
Yeah. hmm
Um, Crouching low enough that that cloud wasn't visible to your opponent. It was
Yeah.
so difficult for me as a new player to pop up in those situations because they were so good about um, it was so hard for me to get that shot off because not only am I over peeking the wall,
hmm
and I don't have a good sense of when I'm pulling the trigger. Um, yeah,
Lots to remember. But
yeah. I mean that was 10 years ago, unfortunately. So it's been a while, but
sure. Fortunately and unfortunately, the bloom is going to be probably a little bigger now with Gen 8. Depends on the settings that Syracuse has, but be ready for that.
fair. Yeah, I luckily have been playing in Syracuse as of recently. So, from my experience, I really like the change of previously it was just lives critical, like you listen for audio for
hmm
those cues for everything. So having everything on the screen now has been really nice.
It's really helpful.
Yeah, and dropping nukes. Oh man, being able to press a button and then go back to playing rather than having to change your grip slightly to like actually hold down a button.
hmm Yeah, I
That's been
agree
nice.
for sure. Um, one more thing I don't think I mentioned about the pre-firing, like leading with your eyes is usually a really good way to get the pre-fire across. Like if the first thing around the wall is my eye, and then I can get my shoulder and my phaser out at the exact same time, I'm murky again. um, so I first and then everything else that allows me. I know I just covered my shoulder. I'm sitting down, people. I'm sorry. Hello. Well, that's weird. We'll keep going. So
It'll work.
yeah, it's fine. You people get it. Leading with your eyes tells you exactly where they are, and if you can come around pre-firing right at your target, that's usually how you get that shot off just a little quicker than your opponent and get that little advantage. Does that help as far as pre-firing goes?
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's definitely one of those concepts that I wanted to bring up during this basic, like level of play, because even though it might not be something that you physically can do yourself, it's nice to know as a new player that that might be what's happening to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And just
absolutely.
being aware of something like that, it's just helpful.
Yeah, pre-firing and getting missile dodged are like I think the two big rage bait things for new players.
Yeah, missile dodging, I don't think I've done yet. I don't think that's been something that has successfully happened ever. So I try to just be away from those people, and if not, don't be around long enough to get reset.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Well, I
Man,
think
you're
this is
focused.
just it. Let's see. We got a few more questions from you. If you got time,
Plenty of time.
let's go.
Always time for tag.
You said not knowing your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. How do you play against a new person? That's tough because I think all you can really do is. I think it's hard to really adapt your play style to people when you're newer. I think off the bat, you should really focus on playing into your strengths rather than accommodating for another player's strengths. Do what you do well, and some people will counter you. Some people will be susceptible to you. And to try to start paying attention, like certain like players who are at a higher skill level than you, they will do things that will counter what you're doing. Oh, there we go. And all you can really do is like recognize, okay, that's what they're doing. Now, what do I do in response to that? What are new strategies to help me counter them? This is you actively building the blocks of getting better. A lot of these are just like, this is more micro game than macro game. Like, okay, standing here, they will counter me by standing there. Or they'll call me out and then their scout is going to come deal with me. Stuff like that.
Okay.
So you'll start gaining that knowledge as you get experience playing with people. There's no harm in going to watch footage from past tournaments with that player to try to notice what their tendencies are. That can definitely help.
Right.
Going into Nats 24, my home site, I didn't really get the chance to watch the footage too much, but I would like go in on the practice nights or when I'm reffing, and I would really watch carefully while I'm reffing what are players doing and how would I counter that if I were playing against them.
Yeah, that's definitely a valuable thing of play reffing, like
Mm-hmm.
player reffing, is having those opportunities to learn.
Yeah, pay attention during reffing.
Yeah, I might not know what it is I'm seeing in most situations, but that you guys have done a really good job of like creating space to ask questions. Because if games aren't going in super quick, there's usually some sort of lull where you could ask a person like, "Hey, I saw you do this thing. Could you like take a second to explain?"
Yeah, I think it's far less about how do I counter them and far more about what can I steal. Early on, just be
Yeah,
stealing things.
yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure it's Black Hammer from the Syracuse store. Am I getting that code name right?
Yeah, I
I know
think.
it's something
Yeah,
something Hammer.
yeah, Black Hammer,
Um,
I think.
yes. So his play style was so fast, and like
Mm-hmm.
the angles that he would take on people were so unique that it wasn't something that I thought I could steal personally. Um, I don't think I have the cardio to keep up with his play style. But it was really good to watch and see that like all the different play styles that you might come across in a new arena. Um, So he was one of the people that was super helpful to pick his brain about what he's thinking in the arena, what he's doing based on his skill set. But
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. And like then we can get into like player archetypes. There are types of play styles, and you can look at one person and be like, gosh, I could never quite be like them, but I can steal a few things here and there. Or holy cow, I can model everything after this person. I'm gonna try it, you know?
yeah. Like for him, like he was telling me all about like how he would do everything, and like the biggest takeaway was positioning.
Mm,
There was a certain way in which that he would play Edor,
mm-hmm,
and like to not be predictable or to have good sight lines on people or to watch important alleys. He had like spots where like each thing had its own reason for like why he would spend time there.
mm-hmm.
And as a new player, I'm not going to gain that information reffing seeing him stand in those places. Like I might catch that in one of those situations something beneficial happened, but having him taking the time being like, oh yeah, like these 5 spots all have different uses and like I'll rotate between them. Like that sort of stuff is really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you had that opportunity already. And
Yeah,
I'm sure it's already helping you frame what do I need to do coming into Syracuse.
definitely. Yeah, because I have a decent amount of laser tag experience, but I'm lacking on a lot of the meta for your specific system.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, I've been able to spend time in the arena that we will be playing in for Nats. So like that specific arena knowledge. But um, yeah, it's been really fun.
Good, good. I'm glad. Okay. Feels like playing as ammo or heavy is harder than commander and scout because of the lack of freedom in the arena. Want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so specifically, my play style over the years has been more of like someone who's elusive and takes as much tags in a way that I could try to, um, be unseen or
You're
use
sneaky.
yeah, like using other people's knowledge of where you are. Like if I see someone's sight line and they recognize me going left to right, and then they pass that same gap, and then I go right to left instead. So
Mm-hmm.
like using those kind of tactics.
Yeah, tricking
Um,
them.
I find that stuff to be much easier playing scout and commander because your position in the arena can come from a lot of different angles, and you can be more elusive and move throughout the arena. Um,
100%.
but then when you're playing heavy and ammo, it's really heads up in a lot of situations because heavy, your job protecting the resupply and as far as the general concept, you don't have that same freedom to you know go 50 feet away from the resupply and lose those important sight lines that you're supposed to be protecting. Um, and then ammo being even a tighter, radius. Um, but yeah,
Okay.
I guess I'm not sure what to pick apart about that, but
I have a couple thoughts.
yeah,
So I've always considered that the offensive positions are more based in philosophy, whereas the defensive positions are more based in structure. So if I'm playing on a team and I'm playing a defensive role, I've done this probably every tournament I've played defense with. I will get with my other 2 defensive players and we will map out, here's generally the best places for us to stand. Here's our fallback spots. Here's our forward spots. Like, how do we all 3 work together to control our space based on what's happening? Um, that doesn't mean there's never creative moments. Like defending Edor as the heavy, you can maneuver around a lot. I think you can do a lot of the trickery, shifting positions that you mentioned.
yeah, much easier than playing green resup. I agree.
Yeah, I hate playing green reset. Oh my goodness, it's a lot harder. There's not as much you can do. Um,
Yeah,
but I've seen people be pretty difficult to break into there as well using trickery. The ammo and the medic, like the medic can change where they're hiding and shift to a number of different spots between attack routes, and then they break in and they're like, "Where's the medic? What's going on?" Ammo can be
yeah,
out there defending as well. The resupply can just run and get their bases and not even be there. These are all advanced things, right? This is the really fun stuff that makes defense more fun. But as far as I've just explained it in the meta for that base level, no, it's super structured. There's very little like sneaky creative trickery.
Yeah, what that's what's kind of fun about having to play. I personally don't have a favorite role yet.
Oh,
I'm new
cool.
enough that they each have, like, even though I'd like to be elusive, it doesn't mean that I'm not enjoying having the power of a heavy, and having that shot shield and
Mm.
knowing that I'm going to be able to put one shot into anyone and they're going to go down. And resupply is such a horror game in the arena, because you are so valuable at the same time that, like, your instances in which you're actually shooting people are usually a lot more like, I don't know, heightened.
Yeah, it's like
Great.
this is really high stakes for me. I could die out of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, man. So no,
Yeah. So
I feel you.
what would you suggest for someone who has tendencies and to, like, try to, like, should they try to break out of their habits and try to, be more heads up in those roles, or should they try to find ways to fit within their own interests?
Hmm.
And it
Well,
could be
that
both. It doesn't have to be
yeah,
one or the other.
it's probably both. Like again, it's so contextual. When I look, I would if I was building a team with you on it, Skillz, I would be like, who are the other pieces? I can look at you and I can see what your skill set is. You are strongest when you can be stealthy and sneaky. That immediately makes me think, okay, ideally, maybe he should play scout because scouts really thrive when they are shooting people in the back, as opposed to like heavy and commander are more of the forward facing, look at me, drawing attention to yourself positions. But a scout can easily slip into the shadows. Sniper angles, rack up a high hit diff is huge for scouts. Great. That sounds like it could be up your alley. I might also like you on medic because if you're kind of using your brain to put yourself in different positions and you work with your defense, you can be a very elusive medic that way. I don't
Mm,
know. You can use it in every position. There are stealthy heavies and commanders and ammos, of course.
yeah.
But I'd want to know what other options are we working with. There might be, we might not have enough shot callers, and you might be the only person mature enough to take on that role, and therefore you're going to be much more vocal and loud. Whatever makes the best team, that's probably what I'd
Yeah.
have to go with.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because it is fun with coming in with an Armageddon team, is that our roles really aren't so far defined to the point that we can't change it up and let people play different roles. We have intentions based on people's interests in the system, but yeah, it is fun to either test myself trying to play heads up as a heavy, and try to lean more into that just as a broadening the abilities of an individual player.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be so excited to watch your team just because of how into this you all are. At least talking to you, and I imagine everyone else is gonna be too.
Oh yeah.
Um, please feel free to come ask me or probably anybody from I could speak for Loveland. Like we'd be happy to give advice. Just don't hesitate.
Yeah, the whole California crew. I definitely got to give them a shout out. They
Yeah,
were all super helpful at the last event.
good.
Um,
I wouldn't be
yeah.
surprised. I actually can't really think of anyone who probably wouldn't want to help you.
I mean, so, like, it is one of those things where I had to be careful with, obviously it's my interest to ask someone, like, hey, is there something that you saw about my game that you could give me a tip about?
Mhm.
And keeping in mind that when they're the arena, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about, like, what is their gameplay? What are they doing? They're not necessarily paying attention to little thing that you're doing.
Mhm.
So, like, giving people space to be like, oh, you know what? I hadn't actually noticed anything. Let me get back to you on that, and not expect people to have answers right away.
Mm. I'm gonna ask Beans slash whoever tournament coordinator is a question right here on air. Because here's another good way to do that. Like I have this GoPro that you can wear on your head, boop, during the games. And
Nice.
Beans, if I get consent from the other team, am I allowed to wear a GoPro during Nats games? Like, is that okay? Because like this is a great way to get feedback on yourself. You go back and you watch your footage. Or even if an opponent is playing and you can see yourself from a third person, that actually is oftentimes far more revealing to me than watching my own perspective. So another way to get helpful feedback. But yeah, what gives, Beans? Can I do it, please?
That would be really interesting to be able to actually, film yourself and actually have dialogue after the fact.
Yeah, go back and
Try
watch
to
the footage.
yeah.
I mean, I would argue we're gonna live stream it and we're gonna have cameras. You should be able to watch all that. So why can't I watch my little perspective?
Here's an interesting question. Do you guys allow watches in game?
Oh gosh, we've had this one before.
Because I would imagine that game duration is important.
The technical rule is you are allowed to have it, but you are not allowed to use it. So it's kind of an honor system thing. There was a player who I called out during one of the Zap reports where on camera you can see him going, just checking the time throughout the game.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
You can't do that. That's all.
Yeah, because is it just about like knowing how long the game has been going? That's the rule?
That's pretty much it. Like you can't use any non-Laserforce equipment is the thing. So this is why I'm asking about this. Like it's not going to help me in the game. It'll help me out of the game. But you can't use anything in the game. I think the spirit of the rule is you can't take advantage of checking the time and knowing game ends in 3 minutes, right? You have to feel that out with just cues and listening and all that.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage, because you're the 3 different situations you set up where, like, if a medic dies out, what you can do in 2 minutes compared to what you can do in 5, or 1, those are all very different things.
Absolutely. You're totally right. So no, you can't use your watch. Basically.
Cool. That's good. That's good to know. There might be people that be showing up with smartwatches just because they wear them every day and not know that's something that they should be careful about.
No, totally. Okay, let's see. It looks like the last question you had here is which in-game audio to pick up on. It's hard to focus on it all. Listening for call-outs and your own thoughts. It's a lot to take in.
Yes. Yeah, that one's definitely just like if you had to pick choosing to listening to like your teammates and the call-outs or focusing more of your attention on like the audio inside the game from your pack or the speakers. Do you find that newer players should take time to pay attention to the speakers?
Absolutely. This has come up a few times, like the overstimulation. You're juggling. You have to start with 2, then you can do 3, then you can do 4.
Yeah.
I remember in 2017, which would be my third away tournament, every single game we were the last place team, that one. Every single game we would have team meetings and there would be like 2 to 5 pieces of feedback from me about things I needed to do differently as the heavy weapons. And all those things that were mentioned to me were things that I needed to do differently. However, I couldn't keep it all in my head. Like the thing you told me 3 games ago, I'm still working on that thing. And yeah. I've now added 10 more things. When you're losing, you're going to be met with a lot of overwhelming deficiencies. Like, here's this I gotta work on. I let the commander break in that route, and I gotta get better about my resupplies. And it can be overwhelming for sure about all the noises and stuff. Which is why I like to frame it as don't worry so much about winning games if you're not doing so well off the bat. Work about surviving longer and longer into games until you're at that tipping point of it's like we're lasting the whole game. Now we can start trying to win the game, right? It's just progressively working towards winning rather than needing to get all the way there every time. And you don't need to pay attention to all the noises. I would argue that theoretically, if you sat and you just listened to a game audio only, you could tell so much information. Even just the
It's
firing shots, like there's a huge battle going on right now. A bunch of people just went down. I shouldn't boost
Mhm.
right now as the medic because no one's going to get it, right? Even that's useful.
There's an amazing amount of information to be gathered from what's being played through the speakers.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't like I thankfully have had the time to try to piece a few of the few things that are happening. Like you can hear resupplies that are happening. You can
Mm-hmm.
hear the nukes going off, which have different timings. They don't all drop in the same amount of time. There's an amazing amount of information going on around you at all times.
Completely. Someone in the comments confirm for me, do the red and green teams have different shot sounds? Like, could you tell which team is winning battles if you listen for certain shots? I thought I heard that somewhere. I don't remember. You can
Interesting.
tell if teams are getting resupplied, if you're a resupply and you're not doing anything, but you hear all the soda can click sounds, like, oh, they're getting resupplied right now, and you can call that out.
Yeah.
I would say you could boil it down to just two things personally. I think the first thing you really need to listen for is the nuke sound effects. You've got to like go listen to them and begin to recognize them, because if you can hear the nuke sound as soon as it begins going off, you can prepare for the nuke. You can make a trail, you can give lives to your team, you can get lives, put yourself somewhere safe. That helps a lot. The other thing would be the 60-second timer is very important. Missing the 60-second timer can be devastating, especially if you don't have your bases. The game
Yeah.
completely
Basis.
flips on its head as soon as we hear 60 seconds remaining.
Yeah, 100% agree. 60 seconds is definitely the one that I most care about as a new player, because you know leaving a base open like a neutral in the middle
Mm-hmm.
for a chance of having the reset is valuable, but not if you're someone who's having trouble remembering to get that base at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
100%.
you're not likely going to have more points awarded off of resets than you will of the value of getting your bases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely.
Um, I was looking for a note that I had written down from a previous event. I I believe I don't remember which one it is. That when you're nuking compared to when your opponent's nuking, only one of those is put through your shoulder speakers. I think you only get audio when an opponent is nuking in your shoulders.
Huh. You know, it's so funny. Like, I honestly couldn't tell you.
It's definitely something that like you might not need to worry about if you're just used to like the gameplay or what's going on, or maybe you have a sense for what's happening based on just the sound of the nuke in the game.
Mm.
But I think there is a way of knowing if it's you're nuking or if they're nuking.
Yeah. I mean, if you asked me without telling me that like a minute ago, I might have told you. It'll tell you when both teams are nuking, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think a huge theme from today is just muscle memory, and that you will not be a huge part of being really good at Space Marines or anything in life is when you can remove the manual thinking and make it more automatic thinking. Like, I don't have to think anymore about where the walls are. I can move around the arena with ease. Now I can think more about other things. The more mental load you take off yourself.
yeah, repetitions is
So
definitely important.
the mother of all skill.
Yeah,
So I'm weirdly at a point where, to be honest with you, I couldn't actually tell you if if it's only the enemy team or if it's both for nukes, because I don't even really even think about it.
yeah,
It's all part of the flow state.
yeah. I mean, you brought up Sabo, which is someone that I met in October.
Mm.
Um, and it sounds like he's one of those players who hasn't been in the scene very long, but has put in a ridiculous quantity of reps in that amount of time to have gotten as good as he's gotten.
I've never seen anything like it before. Like 2,000 games in like 2 or 3 years, I think. It's
Yeah,
insane.
and it
Um,
shows.
he's
It
amazing.
does the
Yeah.
Yeah, and for what we were just talking about, having more things being something that is just second nature in the game really alleviates a lot of that struggle that I'm having as a new player who just doesn't have the reps because I don't have a center nearby.
Yeah. 100%. That's how it works. I'm trying to learn how to drive a manual car. My wife has one. I never drove one before, and I am so bad at it. And I know the only way is I just need to spend a lot of time in that car, and it will become
Yeah, I can
second
understand that.
nature. It's like anything in life. You got to spend a lot of time in the arena, and a lot of this stuff will kind of dissolve into the recesses of your brain.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
So
I've never learned to drive stick myself, and I can understand that. that I have a mechanical mind, so I could tell you probably how it works, but not
yeah,
physically how to do it while driving.
exactly. Yeah, a lot of this you'll just forget in the middle of the combat of laser tag. You're just like, I could probably tell you what the right move is, but I'm in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, man. Okay, cool. Well, that's all the questions you gave me. Do you have anything else that you were wanting to ask or talk about?
Let me see. I had written down. I think that was it as far as the stuff that was pertinent on my mind. Um, okay, I got a funny one.
Sure.
Be prepared for people to give you false audio in the arena.
Oh yeah.
That was not something that I had experienced from other players. But let's see. I'm going to shout them out because they got me really good. Lenny, Evil, and Cody all tricked me at some point throughout my experience in the last 6 months. Where, like, I mean, obviously they're shindig games, so the competitiveness is not at a heightened state, and that people are having fun. But listening to people in the arena when you don't know their voices and they say it's safe to come back, or just funny moments in the arena that not all information that's said out loud is good information.
That is a good one. I like those are all Syracuse A players, and I've been in their shoes. Sometimes when you have a newer player, you can get away with really stupid stuff just
Oh
because
yeah.
they're very distracted. It's not that they're not smart. It's like they're overwhelmed with just all the basic stuff they're trying to keep track of.
Yeah, in my specific scenario, I was red team resupply, and we had gotten flushed out, and one of them was playing a scout, and they just were tucked into like over by Edor, and they said it's safe, come back. And Disco Monkey was on my team, and he's like, "It's not safe. Don't go back." And, it was just one of those moments where I heard the first person, and I started running right back in. And they're standing there. They downed me because I'm not expecting someone to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
So just funny stuff that happens to someone who doesn't know better.
It's so rude, but yeah.
I mean, it was hilarious. I was more prepared now having experienced it. So
yeah, I'm glad you had a chance to experience it so that you'll know for the actual tournament. Dude.
Okay, I got one more.
Yeah, what you got?
One more.
Yeah, please.
So there's a feeling of panic when you're a new player, when you're a 3-hit and you're facing up against a stronger player, like let's just say like an A-tier player as a scout.
Yeah.
And being able to keep track of the math of your shields and the situation around you. I'll give you a small scenario where I'm deactivated as a 3-hit, and the scout shot me down. They took the last shot, or got all 3. Either way, my shield should be reset for when I come back on. It is easy to want to run away from that person, even though when I come on, I will have an advantage just based on my shields. Do you have any thoughts on how to deal with that, like new player panic in those situations?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's so if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like the big thing is like there is an intimidation factor, even though they're a scout and you're sounds like a heavy.
Yeah, heavy would be good for this scenario.
That you're actually worried about them being able to attack you, and so you're not making what are logically the right moves. I'm the heavy, I can take them. You're treating them almost like another 3-hit.
Right. Yeah, so even though you have an advantage because they don't have a reset, in this specific scenario, that they will have to wait for you to become active, and it's easy to assume that stronger players will be able to shoot faster or even trade with you in most scenarios, and to like want to go be deactivated and go find cover and get a chance to reset, to come back up safely. um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just interesting as a new player. It's really easy to have that panic and not do the math.
Totally. I mean, this is it's a total psychology thing, I think. Players tend to carry reputation with them, and it can be so easy to, like, you see a player who you greatly respect and fear, and they're somewhere in the field, and you will give them like 80% of your attention as opposed to all the other players, just because they're them. You know,
Yeah.
if we're playing a game in Loveland, we're just doing a members night. If it's a Josiah Commander, people freak out about Josiah Commander because he's considered our best player, the Fear
Okay.
Turkey. Um, they are screaming him out all game long, and they're paying lots of attention to him, which gives his team an advantage because there's a lot of disproportionate effort put towards keeping track of him. Definitely been in this spot before. I think this is going to be a little different for everybody based on where they are at mentally, but I would actually encourage you to try and be a little more lighthearted about the game. Try to
Mm,
develop a more of a equal friendship with them, and if they don't give that to you, view yourself as an equal to them outside of the game. We're just a couple of dudes. We're a bunch of friends, and coming to the game, it's like a fun wrestling match. They're much better than me. They're probably going to have the jump on me, but like, if you can have a bit of a fun attitude, like, I'm here to play, I'm here to compete, I'm here to learn, and you're easily going to beat me. You're so much better than me. But I'm gonna give you my best, man. I'm hungry. I want a shot. I want a shot at the champ, you know?
yeah.
Does any of this resonate? Like,
Yeah, there's times where that is easy, and it's going into games, and if someone puts all three shots into you when you're a three hit and they
mm-hmm,
put you down, to be able to walk away from those moments and be like, wow, they did a really good job. Like that was,
mm-hmm.
like that's a skill that they've gained, and you should be like, you shouldn't be happy about it because you got deactivated, but to recognize that that skill gap exists for a reason.
particularly
Can be
on
a positive
heavy,
thing.
particularly on heavy, there's that pressure, I think.
Yeah.
If you mess up as heavy, your team dies, is often the mentality one can have. Um, Honestly, I've kind of mained heavy throughout my career. One of the things that's really helped me is I often will think to myself before a game, it's okay. In Loveland, if you lose top floor, it's really bad. It's okay to lose top floor. If I just say that to myself, like, reminding myself, just because you lose top floor doesn't mean the game's over. It takes so much pressure off me. Or if you're in
Yeah.
Syracuse defending your base, if we get flushed, that doesn't mean the game's over.
Right. Yeah, so in my scenario, you could easily have that set up where if I'm the heavy and I'm the only person who's still in the resupply area,
Mm-hmm.
and like you want to create that space safe again, to be deactivated and have someone standing in front of you, it's easy to want to run away, reset, and then have an active pack to come back,
Mm-hmm.
but like you have those shot shields for a reason. Um, yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just pressure. Pressure takes away from your ability to make rational choices.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm like
Yeah. Breathing too. Uh,
breathing, yeah, yeah, that's good.
that one's brutal when you're panicked and you're breathing heavy. I feel like the cognition just goes out the window.
It does. It really does. Um, I made a quick video called "How to Untilt in Seconds" on my channel, and we talk about like getting flooded.
Mm,
When you're overwhelmed, your rational brain shuts off, and it's all like lizard brain. It's all fight, flight, freeze,
yeah.
and it gets really bad. So yeah, think that's a good tip that you brought up. Like, breathe.
Yeah.
That can actually help a lot.
I'm an avid disc golfer. That's pretty much my summer activity for to get the competitive edge since I don't have laser tag nearby.
Good, good, good.
Um, and breathing is one of those things that gets brought up at a high level because when you're not breathing, you're stiff. You know, your body doesn't move like it would normally move, and it can be really easy to get in a mindset where it just feels like an off day, but in reality, your breathing's completely out of whack. You got a heightened heart rate, and your body's just stiff.
Completely.
And
Yeah.
so, having physically noticed that, I can see how in laser tag, you know, the thought processes can probably be affected in a similar way.
Yeah, completely agreed. That's wonderful. Great tip.
I don't know how to do it, you know. But it's good to be aware that if it's something to work on.
Man, anything else that involves like keeping your right mindset? There is so much research on sports psychology out there, and it's a good thing to go research. Just look it up on YouTube or Google, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else?
I couldn't be more excited to go play Nats in July.
Same, dude.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen Laserball played before. Every time that I make time to go to Syracuse, there's usually just enough time to only play Space Marines, and so that'll be fun to see those games played.
We're a bunch of Space Marine snobs here in the States, and I hope that this event at least like gets people a little more open to the idea. I doubt we're ever going to host a laser ball only event in the States. At least, yeah, I doubt we ever will. But
Yeah,
it's such a valid sport, and I cannot stop shouting out how big it is over in Europe, how much bigger laser ball is in Europe than SM5 is here. And like, it's so fun. I love laser ball. I just don't, I can't, I'll never understand the people that hate it. So I'm excited
I've
to
heard
play.
I've heard enough about it to know that I think I would still prefer Space Marines, because coming from other laser tag systems, the thing that I've got attached to is the fact that there's different roles.
Mm.
Even though in laser ball you have different jobs as far as, like, you know, being the defensive person, or, you know, being a forward, like in a soccer way.
Yeah.
Um, but the physical differences that allow each individual role to have its own meta uh, in Space Marines is something that's so unique to your guys' system.
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest difference, and why I'm not looking to switch over completely to laser ball is because I can't imagine myself having a conversation like this about laser ball where like I've covered the meta, we've talked for like 2.5 hours, and I still feel like I've barely scratched the surface. I feel like
Yeah.
laser ball is just not as deep. I'm not saying there's not depth, but you removed so many of the elements that Space Marines has that creates complexity.
Yeah, physically being able to do something different than another person is something that laser ball just doesn't have.
Yeah, that at
So
all.
it's good. Yeah. Plus elimination. If laser ball was an elimination game, that would be
Mm.
ridiculous.
Oh my goodness, dude. Now that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I know. If
Or
you
like even
if you even so
you go.
much as gave one player 2 hit points instead of 1 hit point, like if the goalie role or something had 2 hit points instead of 1 hit point in laser ball,
Mm,
suddenly I think that just like adds 2 or 3 extra layers to the game. That one little change, you know? I think that's why
yeah.
SM5 has so much that you can talk about within it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can't believe, like, even just like, you know, you add one piece of Space Marines to laser ball, and, you know, things change drastically. You know, the strategy that would be involved would constantly evolve, and
Mm.
depending on how you played.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I being a laser tag person, I'm sure everyone has some experience with video games.
Mhm.
Uh, so, you know, League of Legends, there's like 175 legends now. You know, so
My
it's like the
goodness.
the complexity. I don't personally play, but I was
I
having this
used to
conversation with
so
someone the
much in
other
high
day.
school, but it's changed so much.
I tried it when it came out. There was, I don't know, 20 legends, 25 legends, I think. And you know, just depending on what players on the field, you know, really drastically changes how you play against the other players, and like
Mhm.
what you can do. You know, so it's so interesting for Space Marines to have that aspect where, you know, the individual roles um, themselves can be played differently depending on the person who's playing them.
Mm.
So that part's been really fun.
I'm going to tell you a little secret on air. and I would never tell anybody this because the community would rip me apart. They think that SM5 is a perfect game. But I've always wondered what would happen if we added one extra class so that all 6 classes were different. I think that might be actually kind of cool. I don't know what it is, but don't tell anyone because they'll kill me. They'll try to take me out.
Maybe that'll be an off stream where we can, game out some suggestions.
I have some ideas.
That would be cool, though.
The sniper roll, 1 hit point, 3 shot power. That's it. That's our show, everybody.
You heard it here first, and not for the last time.
Slow shot speed, super slow resupply rate. Okay. All right.
Really interesting.
We got to wrap this up.
Sure.
Any final thoughts or anything that stood out to you today, just coming into Nats this year?
Everyone should be hungry for new information. I think that there's never a point in which there's not something to learn, and this is probably a great starting point.
Thank you so much for coming on, Skillz. I think it's great modeling just that you came on and it's like, hey, I'm admitting I'm new. I want to learn stuff. That alone, like, we're going to do a power rankings show, and I really respect and love that in teams when there's a willingness to learn. It will serve you very, very well. So it was really fun to talk.
Yeah, I agree. I'll happily come on, maybe at a later time and see how things have progressed. So.
Oh, totally. I'm looking forward to just meeting you and hanging out with you.
Definitely. Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, we'll wave goodbye here. Thanks for listening, everybody, and see you at Nats. And for those of you listening way past Nats, sorry for all the Nats talk. Go have fun at your next Nats in 2057.
Thank you for listening to ForceProSports. Subscribe to the channel and get cool perks by supporting our Patreon. Play Laserforce and become part of this era's next great sport.